For Skagit PUD to order. It is May 9th, 2023. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we will start off with the consent agenda, looking for a motion to approve items 1 through 5.
I motion to approve items 1 through 5 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Consent agenda is adopted. At this time, if you're in the audience looking to offer comments, please step to the podium, state your city of residence. If you're on Zoom, go ahead and use the raise your hand function. And don't see anybody there. So with that, we will go right into George's manager's report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. Not a lot to update, just a few things before we get to Alistair's department update, which is going to be more exciting than this. Just recapping the last couple of weeks, went to the Mount Vernon City Council meeting on April 26th and gave the PUD update that I do every year. That went well. Commissioner Linquist was there, and yeah, had a lot of questions, and it was a good discussion, and I think it goes onto their website, and I think that all went well. So we finished the city presentations that I do for the year. This week, in a couple of days, Kevin's going to be hosting the public tours up at the water treatment plant. This is AWWA Drinking Water Week. Got a full house for those tours, so that should be exciting. We'll have good weather as well, so that'll help. And then I'm attending the WAPUTA meetings in Spokane this week. There's a managers meeting, and then Alistair's also attending a telecom meeting. We'll probably get into that. So that's stuff going on this week. And then Mark updated informally before the meeting, but it'll give you a little update on what's going on with the transmission line project. So the pedestrian bridge was installed last week. That's in place. They're just bolting it all up together. They're going to be working on installing the bridge. So installing the pipe on the bridge and working on installing the decking. So right now you'll go by and you'll see the cradle for the pipe and no decking. It's all just bare, but you can go there and see what it's like. And then also the new drill is coming along as well. So pilot hole went through. Mark said they got the 36-inch opened up as well, and they'll be working on making the hole even bigger to 54 this week. So that'll be good, with anticipated pullback in a couple of weeks, starting on the 22nd. So fingers crossed, everything goes well. That'll be when we get that pipe through. And this question came up before, Commissioner Hamburg, you asked about it, and you'll see on the Judy Reservoir report the information. Kurt let me know earlier that the SRD is pumping. So the reservoir level should start coming up here soon. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to take water from the river, and there hasn't been a lot coming from the creeks, but we've now got 3 pumps pumping at the SRD. So it's about 17,000 gallons a minute getting pumped into the reservoir. So in the next couple of meetings, you'll see the graph and the lines start to rise in preparation for summer. So that's all that I got. Unless there's any questions.
The conference in Kennewick was great.
I was going to let you update on that. On the
Yeah, the American Water Works conference in Kennewick was great. Sam did a great job on the presentation for the micro hydro project. A lot of people who are just kind of following what's going on with us and really interested in hopefully being able to implement themselves as well as time goes on. And, a lot of information on PFAS and copper and lead rules, and so it's good to be updated on things, but also we think we're in a very good position with our source water being as great.
I think we have a top ops team
Yeah.
that's going to be going to the National AWWA conference because they won the competition here locally. So that'll be good. They've not that same team, but we've had teams go 2 other times. So 2 of the 3 on the team, this will be their 3rd time going. So
I think we got to semifinals last time is what.
they do a weird ranking system when they go there. I think it's like, there's like 15, at least 15 teams. And they play rounds and then they rank them at the end. And yeah, they did end up in the lower ranking one time. So that was pretty exciting. So keep our fingers crossed. It's bragging rights. A lot of competition though. It's pretty tough. They're challenging questions.
Very good. All right, Alistair, IT department updates.
Commissioners, thank you for having me give you guys an IT update. Tonight's update, I want to focus in on two things. Professional development of the staff, as well as give you some updates on some of the projects that we've been working on. So with the pandemic, obviously, we had very limited opportunities for professional development that wasn't face-to-face. Everything was online. As we are getting into a place where we're post-pandemic, we're starting to have more and more face-to-face meetings. And I've been encouraging the IT staff to start going out and attending those. So in March, Ben Hansen and Luis Gonzalez were able to attend a cybersecurity summit down in Seattle. It was sponsored by the Center for Internet Security. And essentially, it was a vendor type of meeting where they presented a lot of products, a lot of case studies, but it was good for them to get out and see some of the new technologies that were coming down the line. They also had an opportunity to meet with a number of security professionals working for city and the state local governments, as well as some folks that were working in the private sector. So they came back with a lot of, well, not fresh ideas, because we're starting to get to the point where we're seeing everything and it's now a matter of what can we implement. Nick had an opportunity to go to Kennewick last month for the ACES Spring 2023 conference, and ACES is the Association for County and City Information Systems. We're a part of it, but it's mainly cities and counties that get together. A lot of IT professionals, they'll come and they'll have different sessions. I think Nick attended some cloud computing, a number of cybersecurity topics that they had there. But the biggest thing was he got to meet a number of other IT professionals that are in his peer group, especially the folks over at the city of Mount Vernon, as well as Skagit counties. A lot of the IT folks were there, and then some folks that were just around the state as a whole. So I think that's a good thing for Nick to get out there and see it and to be able to have some resources to draw on whenever we're working together. Vivian has yet to go out on anything yet, just the nature of her job. There's not a whole lot of conferences that she's able to attend, but Kayenta is starting to come back with their user group meeting for the Pacific Northwest. And in June, she's going to be going to Yakima to meet with a number of other Kayenta users that exist within the state. It was primarily led by folks in Snohomish County, but they have a whole bunch of other Kayenta users that will get together. The benefit, well, I say it's a benefit for Vivian. It's almost more of a benefit for everybody else to have Vivian there, just because she knows Kayenta so well. But it's good for her to go out there and meet those folks. They'll get to talk about the application, what folks are seeing, some problems and issues that they may have, but also get to work with Kayenta to start developing their roadmap for the next offerings that they may have. And so it's a good opportunity for her to go there. And like I said, for them as well. Project updates. Just a few things, not a whole lot. I don't want to occupy everybody's time. Kevin's got me on a clock right now, so I'm still trying to get through this quickly. SCADA upgrades, the water treatment plant. yeah, month before last, we were able to get Aviva, the software upgraded at the water treatment plant. What this does now is it puts us in line with the SCADA system for the distribution center. So we're both running on the same software. It wasn't the case. SCADA at the water treatment plant was sitting on a PC that was on the desk there. So we were able to move the HMI off of that computer, move it into the virtual environment. We now have the ability to get it backed up. We put it in its own domain. So now individual users can log in and get into the system that way, which gives us another layer of security. Before there was just one username and password. And we don't want to have that. In the future, we're going to start adding some multi-factor authentication to the system. So we've got plans to keep it going to upgrade the security on it. But it's working now. I've checked in with them. It seems to operate just as they would expect it to operate. So it was a fairly smooth transition, and we're happy with that. Rockport and Bow Hill, they're part of our security upgrades that we've kind of planned out each year. This one is still back from 2021 when we were running through supply chain issues, but now Rockport is completed. We were able to upgrade the PLC at the pump site, and we've actually upgraded some communications at the tank site where there's a piece of fiber, I believe, that's running in between the two sites, not fiber, a DSL line. But we've added cell phone cell communication as a backup if that DSL line goes out. And they've actually had opportunity to test it out, and it seems to be working okay. Bow Hill is still in progress. We've got some panels out, and we're waiting to get the PLCs installed and updated, and we're doing some communications improvements there, but that's moving along. And that should be completed fairly soon.
Alistair, the
Yep.
vendor that's helping us with this?
QCC?
QCC.
Yeah. And then some other projects, the data center build, in February, we sent out a request for an RFQ for the data center build for the planning of it. We had a number of vendors submit plans, and we chose to go with BHC Consultants. And they're going to work on the design and the cost estimate for the new data center.
This is gonna be the treatment plant.
The intent is to have it at the treatment plant, yeah. Unless something comes out, yeah, it's still intended to go out there. Security training. You all should have gotten an email that was not phishing. For security training that's started last week. And folks are doing that. You will notice it's somewhat similar to the last training if you were paying attention to it. That's intentional because I have every intention on our October cybersecurity training to make it a little bit more comprehensive. You know, we get to a place where it's starting to level off. The interesting thing is, before I mentioned, I noticed the number of people clicking our phishing attempts had gone up, not significantly, but it was starting to rise. I got a report that we've only had one person click a link the last phishing attempt. So the awareness is still pretty good. I'm happy about that. The Kayenta upgrade, we got the contract signed, and we're looking to start the project off in this July, hopefully. We're just waiting for Kayenta to assign a project manager, and we anticipate the project to start in July and to go live for the upgrade to be next July 2024. So it'll take us a year to get that done. And then maintenance yard security. We have all of the cameras in place and the sensors in place at for the maintenance yard back there. We're just waiting to Ben still have some configuration and some connections that we need to do, and then that'll be up and running. The raw water treatment plant, we have some security upgrades going on there. We're still just waiting for parts, and that's with our new security vendor, Security Solutions Northwest. And that's it. Questions?
So is the work that was done with the SCADA system, the migration to the virtual servers, is that part of an effort for the treatment plant folks to be able to also see the distribution, at least just see the distribution SCADA?
So yes, it's something that we've been talking about since I arrived, for distribution to have a peek into the treatment plant to look into distribution. We were a few months ago, we're actually able to get data going back and forth. So technically it's ready to have that done. We're waiting for QCC to build the screens
Oh, okay.
so that each system will be able to pull up whatever we're looking for. So
Cool.
technically it's there and it's ready to go. We're just waiting for that portion to be done.
The cameras back here, will those be fed up to the treatment plant then too? So if somebody comes in the middle of the night?
I'll have to take a look and see. I think it's a centralized server. So frankly, we should be able to, anybody anywhere that's got access to the software, they should be able to see that too. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Looks like Mark, you are up with the SEPA procedures update.
Wendy's gonna do it. I'm gonna designate Wendy for that.
Wendy is up.
Hi, my name is Wendy. I'm the Environmental Compliance Coordinator for Skagit PUD. And one of my jobs is to get permits and approvals for the projects that the PUD does. Today, we're going to talk about the SEPA procedures, which is one of the review processes that I do. I guess I'm in charge of this. Where do I point it? At the screen? Okay.
Back.
No,
Yeah.
at you. Where's the line? Oh, there we go. Keep going. Okay, so what does SEPA stand for? Supremely Excessive Permitting Application. Several endless pages of answers. Save everything for activists. Or State Environmental Policy Act. So if you read your packet or you guessed, bullet number 4 is the correct answer. So it's easy to be facetious and kind of think that a lot of these environmental permits and approvals are just a lot of paperwork, which they are a lot of paperwork, but they can actually result in some on the ground progress. So the State Environmental Policy Act was enacted in Washington in 1971. 2 years later, the Endangered Species Act was enacted. And as many of you probably know, the bald eagle was one of the first species listed under the ESA. So through processes like SEPA and restrictions in hunting, but habitat processes like SEPA, the bald eagle was delisted in 2007. Some good can come from habitat protection and these processes. What the SEPA process basically covers is the potential impacts of projects that government agencies are undertaking. So they look at impacts on the natural environment and on human health. Categories of concern include air and water quality, priority habitats and species, transportation, housing, all the way to cultural resources. And the way that the process works is there's a checklist, which is the list of endless questions that basically outlines the location, the project, and then the proposal's potential impact on the habitat and all those concerns I just talked about. And then also any mitigating measures that the proponent has decided they can put forth to help lessen the impacts. So Skagit PUD is the lead agency for all of our SEPA projects, because when a government agency puts out the proposal, they are also the one to be the lead agency, which seems kind of like a conflict of interest. But the way the guidance works is that the person who fills out the checklist should not be the person who signs the determination. So in our situation here, I fill out the checklist. Bill often reviews the checklist, and then Mark is the one to sign the determination. All right, I'm going to talk about the categorical exemptions. So these are projects that do not require SEPA review, just because their impact is considered to be so low. So repair, remodeling, and maintenance activities. So this can be anything like small amount of work on a well house or a pump house. It can be work on a pipe. Let's see, then utilities is kind of our main exemption. So that includes installation, construction, relocation, and repair on any water lines and equipment, anything associated with a water line, as long as the water line is 12 inches or less. And also as long as your project site is not, does not have water. So as long as our pipe isn't going over a creek or wetlands, and the pipe is 12 inches or less, SEPA is not required. So creation of the checklist. When I'm going through and figuring out what to put in the checklist, I'm basically just gathering all the information that I can. I talk to the project manager, I see if there's any existing consultant reports, and then I go through a host of websites that have a lot of GIS and other information. So I'm looking at Fish and Wildlife, FEMA, for species, Salmonscape is a website I check. FEMA for floodplain, obviously, and then city and county websites for zoning and different restricted areas they have. DNR for soil reports, and then the DAHP for cultural resources. So I just gather all the information I can and start to fill out the checklist and how we can minimize impacts. Then after the checklist is complete, we determine the threshold. So pretty much every project that the PUD does is the determination of non-significance. So we have pretty low impact projects. And if it was going to be high impact, I don't know that we would do it, or I mean, we just never have since I've been here. So an example is the Panorama project that didn't happen. But when we started to look at that, the pipe was going to go from the top to connect through a ton of wetlands. And so we decided to alter the route to avoid the wetlands. And so even that could have been maybe considered mitigated, but we decided to alter the route just so we wouldn't have to do anything other than a determination of non-significance. So the determination of significance is usually a pretty big deal, like a refinery or something like that. So I put the definition of significant down there, and it's also a matter of you're just looking straight at the impacts. It's not sort of a balancing act on what the benefits are of the project are. So you can't be like, well, we're going to wipe out a huge amount of wetlands, but the people need water. I mean, it's not that type of a situation. You're just looking at the impacts and how you can mitigate. So after Mark signs the determination, we have the comment period. So we publish the notice, the determination in the paper, and we upload it onto Ecology SEPA register, and I send out the determination and the checklist to a bunch of local agencies and tribes. They have 14 days to comment, and during that time, no action is taken by the PUD on the project. We rarely receive comments, especially ones that are actually related to the SEPA checklist. But if we do, we would factor the comments into the project moving forward. An interesting thing about the SEPA review process is there's no appeal period. There's no end date built into it. So in order to actually have an end date, you have to go through what's called the notice of action taken, which is an optional process. And the notice of action taken is basically just another document that's filed when the decision to commence project activities is made. So that could be commission approval, it could be a notice to proceed. So that notice of action taken initiates a 21-day appeal period. So if nobody appeals the SEPA determination or process in that time, it's a speak now or forever hold your peace kind of situation. If you don't do this 2 years later into your project, someone could decide they don't like something about it and really dive in your SEPA process and find something to appeal. So are there any questions at this point? We'll go into the changes that we're making to the actual SEPA procedure. So there's the WAC, which has the guidelines for the SEPA procedures for everyone in the state. They're what you must do to comply, but there's leeway in a lot of them to where the agency can come up with their own procedures and kind of go different directions on a few areas. The WAC changes pretty often. So since we've updated our procedures, the WAC has changed 4 times in regard to the exemptions. And so instead of just constantly having to refresh our procedures, we decided just to take out all the exemptions and just reference the WAC. The threshold determinations. This was an area where the procedures we had didn't necessarily match what staff does on a regular basis. So it talked a lot about the determination of significance and mitigated determination of significance. But like I said, we usually only do the determination of non-significance. So we kind of focused in on that and did WAC references for the others. And then since our procedures came out, there's been kind of more additions to the guidelines regarding revised determinations. So once you've made your determination, if someone comes up with information that you didn't have at the time of your determination, then you can take that information and do a revised or modified, they call them both, which is kind of confusing, determination. So an example of this is during the transmission line project, the Skagit Land Trust came to us and said, there's a heronry, across from the HDD portion that you guys are constructing, and that wasn't known a few years ago. And so we took that information and we worked with them to do a monitoring protocol. So we revised our SEPA to include that information, and then you send out the revised DNS to everyone who saw the SEPA determination the first time. The rest of this just kind of outlines the comment period. For some reason, the existing proposal had a 15-day comment period, and the guidelines only require 14 days in most instances. We just made it 14 across the board for consistency. All right, and then the notice of action taken. As I said, we kind of started to look into this during the transmission line project because it's been going on so long, and our procedures said shall when the notice of action is optional. So we're changing that to may, because in most cases we weren't doing a notice of action taken. So this just gives us the option. We can do the notice of action taken, and we probably will in most cases, but just we don't need to in every case if we don't think it's going to be a contentious project. But if we do the notice of action, then we need to do a specific list of requirements that the WAC requires. And last, the SEPA form. So this is pretty much like the applicability section where all throughout the procedures referenced forms, and we had an appendix, but the forms have changed several times since, and they've added new forms and subtracted forms. So we're just going to reference the ecology website, so we're not tracking forms from a moment in time. So basically just cleaning up all the references and making sure that the procedures are accurately reflecting what we actually do. That is all. Any questions? Right.
Right.
Thank you.
So we would be looking for a motion to approve the water policy manual. Appendix B of the SEPA Act procedures.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. And looks like recent news article in there, Judy Reservoir update, any commissioner comments?
Me.
All right, well, none for me either, so with that, we will adjourn at 5 p.m.